So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much to those folks who have the energy and commitment to be joining us for our final session at the end of our Wellbeing Economy Week and our 3-day New Economy Conference. It has been an amazing week. My brain is abuzz with amazing ideas, and I hope yours are too. Although it's been a hybrid conference with some challenges, it has been very exciting to see lots of new folks connecting with NENA, as well as heaps of terrific people returning and connecting, because many of us have been involved in NENA for many a good year. So what I'm going to do in a moment is just run people through both an update about some of our strategic thinking and some of the work we've been slogging away at for about a year and a bit, but also open up not so much heaps of discussion today, but a huge invitation to join us into discussions for next year. So for the folks just joining us, I'm Michelle Maloney. I'm one of the co-founders and directors of the New Economy Network Australia, or NENA. It's been a real delight to have folks with us either all week or over the last couple of days. Thank you so much for being part of our online and in-person audiences. What I'd like to do today is give you a bit of an update about what a whole bunch of us have been doing in terms of trying to build NENA's civil society strategy for a new economy, or wellbeing economy. Excuse me. I'm just going to do the story of NENA first, just a couple of minutes to remind people how we're structured, how we work, and what it is we're trying to build. So the New Economy Network Australia is a network, obviously, of individuals and civil society organisations working to transform Australian society by focusing on the economic system. And our fundamental objectives are to build transform our economic systems into those that support ecological health and social and economic justice. NENA is officially an incorporated entity. We are a cooperative. We were partially begun at a conference in 2016. The wonderful Professor Bronwyn Morgan and myself ran a conference to see if people out there were interested in building a civil society network that would bring all kinds of folks across Australia connected and working on an explicit economic focus to build a better society. So NENA is a network, and that means it's not an organisation developing specific programs on specific core areas. It's trying deliberately to bring more and more people together. And as it's written there, we want to facilitate connections, showcase and promote innovative projects, build peer-to-peer support for each other and learning, and use collective strategies to advocate for change. And that doesn't just mean we're trying to talk to government. NENA was born very much from the spirit of community development, which means we do what we can with who we've got right here, right now. We talk about ourselves as being civil society, and that's often just ordinary folks working across and in lots of different places, but all coming together to build a strong movement, demanding, creating, and benefiting from a new or well-being economy. And I really want to stress that this isn't about a group of people trying to develop ideas to then knock on government's door and ask them to do something. This is very much about the people who are already and have been for many decades working really hard to create different systems. And what we want to do is amplify all of it. And that's really possibly one of the key words for NENA. What we hope we can do or have done and will continue to build is amplifying each other's achievements, really supporting each other, hosting webinars and activities and events to showcase lots of different folks working across similar or connected issues. And that photo is actually from our very first gathering at Glebe Town Hall, back in 2016. It was a really fun and very explorative adventure. So right from the beginning, we identified 5 core founding principles for NENA's existence and its ongoing objectives. We want to work for a society that has ecological health, that supports First Nations peoples, their sovereignty and their own economic aspirations. We have many elders connected in with the work that we do, and we call on them as often as we can to guide and support the work that we're all doing. Of course, social and economic justice is a hugely important part of the New Economy Network, but so too is focusing on the place-based and localization approaches that strengthen both participation and democracy amongst people, but also help us build towards these other goals. For those who missed the news, on Monday night, we officially launched We All Australia, and the recording from that event will be available in the next few weeks on the website, so I won't recap too much. But what's exciting is that back in 2017, when NENA was a year old, we were invited to be one of the founding members of the Wellbeing Economy Alliance, an international network of rather remarkable people from all around the globe. We were already a member of REPES, which is also a lovely intercontinental network of networks. The Wellbeing Economy Alliance has got a whole range of activities, but it includes what they call their sort of civil society hubs. We All Australia has got a range of great people, and at the moment it's nesting inside the NENA world, and we're all working together. And part of that work exploring what wellbeing economic frameworks look like included not only the launch and hearing from folks from Wellbeing Economy hubs around the world on Monday night, but also a really important part of that discussion was hosted by Mike Salvaris yesterday, where we had a number of people from different state and territory governments and other NGOs working with folks in the state and territory governments to start really focusing on a wellbeing economy through wellbeing budgets. And again, if you missed that session, I really recommend you have a listen. There's a lot of material in those discussions that many of us in outside of those government agencies didn't know about, and it's really exciting stuff. So NENA formed up in 2016, growing its capacity, building networks and relationships, now strengthened by connecting into and supporting We All Australia and the international connections. So before I start to talk about what we've been doing over the last year on starting to piece together everybody's opinions about what's important and what NENA and its membership can be banging the drum for, let me just remind you, especially if you're not familiar and perhaps if you're not a member of NENA, that we were designed originally with a very, very deliberate strategy for having a distributed governance network. And by that we mean we really wanted to make sure that while we have legally required board of directors, we didn't want 5, 6, 7 people being in charge of everything for NENA, because it's a true network. We wanted to make sure that when people became a member, and we are a co-op, so the membership really matters to us, they've got an opportunity to create or join a sectoral hub or a hub based in their local area. And inside those hubs, work with others, even if it's just a couple of times a year. The only requirement in the Constitution is that members do a couple of activities a year inside one of their hubs. Now, why does this matter for building strategy? It means that we've dispersed the kind of authority around who's building strategic thinking for NENA. It's not just the role of the board of directors. Some people would see this as sort of a sociocracy model where people join a hub and through that membership, work with others. They can jump in and out of any hub they wish. Hubs come and go. They're an informal structure valued deeply inside our Constitution, but also people can then come up and join the NENA Strategic Directions Group or the Participatory Budget Group. And I won't go into all the nuts and bolts there, but for those who don't know how NENA works, this is really, really important to us, and we know that it will grow over time, this intention to have more people connecting in. And one of the reasons that this distributed structure is so important is exactly what I'm going to outline in a moment. Over the last year, we've had many of our active hubs sharing their core ideas through the NENA Strategy Group into literally just statements of what they think should happen or what they are already working on together or they want to work on. So our structure, you see there in the red, the structure of NENA has been deliberately designed to help us all co-create the kinds of strategies that we think are important for the network and for the effort of shifting Australia's economic system. So what has NENA achieved in 5 years? Well, first, can I just remind everybody that we are a volunteer-run organisation. If we had funding, if we had full-time staff, I suspect we would have done a great deal more. But I'm personally, as one of the co-founders and one of just many dozens and dozens of people working in the NENA space, really proud of the stuff that's being done. But I can see so much potential, so much more. So there's certainly a lot we can't measure. We haven't gone and evaluated what have you gotten out of NENA so far, but maybe we can do some things like that next year to start getting a snapshot of what a network like this has been helping to create. We know through the many events we've done and the members we have that we've been growing connections, conversations and collaborations, all with a very specific call to invite ordinary Aussies, professionals, academics, students, grassroots activists, people with a community garden, anybody to talk about the economy and to work together to change it. So, and as I've mentioned, from this year onwards, NENA and We All Australia, forging together, connecting up with even more folks around the world. I think that will make us even stronger. It's already evidenced in how we've been able to bring some of the government folks into conversations with civil society networks that they might not otherwise have connected with. We have more than 8,000 people connected through many different ways. We have nearly 400 paid members of the cooperative, which we're all really proud of because we don't actually have a membership person to promote that. It's just people can see the value, and that's exciting. This is our 6th annual conference, our 5th with the framing of actually existing as NENA. And we have had, I haven't done a full count, but much more than 70 online events. I think we've averaged 2 a month just this year alone. So I think anyone connected to NENA, anyone who's spoken at a webinar, anyone who's organised a webinar, been involved in connecting on the ground at the local level, please do pat yourself on the back. The effort and the work from everybody is deeply valued and I think really important. So how have we been starting to build what we're calling a civil society strategy for wellbeing economy, but which I think more and more will morph into a number of different documents, or some people call them artifacts these days, but structures that help people connect with the new economy and also build it further. So what is this civil society strategy we've been talking about for the last year and a bit? Really, we're trying to get some bottom-up ideas about what it is people are already doing and what they think is important. It's one thing for the Strategic Directions Group, a group of members, to start looking out across the landscape and identifying what should be done. But to us and to me personally, it's really important that folks, everyone who's inside NENA is an expert in their own field. Some of the folks in NENA lead the world in their thinking about different areas and work that they do. So it's very important to all of us that our members and friends chip in their ideas into the space. So the current thing that I'm about to tell you about really is a collection of ideas and issues identified by our members inside our different hubs that are priority areas of importance and priority areas for their own work. And what we've done so far, again, which I'll tell you about in a moment, is just the foundations for our ongoing work. It's just a beginning. There's so much more to do and lots of different ways to do it. So just jumping into the nuts and bolts for a tick, at the end of 2020, sorry, we had a number of webinars talking about what might be useful. We really took our time to reach out to everyone in the network. We had about 5 or 6 webinars with at least 30 or 40 people on each one. It was brilliant. Everyone was talking about what can we do to just begin collating what people think is important for the new economy or the wellbeing economy. So the template we created was pretty basic, inviting folks across all of our hubs to fill out some info under these headings, and I'll just read them. So it starts with, well, what's the issue we want to address, or what are the actions we want to strengthen or amplify? What scale is that priority issue for that hub? It could be local, it could be national, it could be anywhere in between. What's the current status in Australia? What are you worried about, or what's the current issue? And then what might be NENA strategic goals to create positive change? And then what might be specific actions by NENA members to achieve those goals inside their hubs? So just as a simple example, the Ecological Economics Hub identified the issue we want to address or change, fundamental issue, GDP is a flawed mechanism for social well-being. Get rid of GDP, find something else to measure success. What's the scale that that priority issue relates to? Definitely national, but also across many other scales, because people use it so much as the guiding measure for a so-called economic growth or success. The current status in Australia of that particular issue, GDP, is that it's absolutely entrenched across government policy, a whole range of higher level finance and economic measures. What could NENA possibly do? What could small volunteer-led NENA do? Well, the many people connected into NENA can talk about different ways of measuring success. And of course, we're now seeing the rise of the wellbeing budget, wellbeing indicators and such. So that's just one example of how people filled in the format. It seems really basic and a little clunky. It doesn't have all flash interconnected circles like all the other diagrams we're seeing. But this is the reality of pecking away on the top of everyone else's very busy lives, pecking away and inviting people in a simple way to share their ideas. So what we then did, and I really want to do a call out to the Strategic Directions Group, devoted bunch of humans, a very small group of us, Rhiannon HARDWICK, Monique Potts, Simon Kerr and Andrew Ward, and anyone else in the NENA board also who was contributing. But what we've done is taken 33 pages of input, which we're very happy to share with anyone who wants to see it, and started to do a summary. And I'm just going to touch on each of the hubs that we've plucked out for this discussion. It's not the whole story, but nor do I want to bore you to death with just reading off slides. But I do want to show you some of the things that people are talking about inside NENA. The Narratives Hub is an awesome hub, and I'll jump to the bottom first. Yesterday, Chris Reedy, JP and Simon Kerr launched the NENA Narratives Festival for 2022, and that session was recorded, so people can hear more about that. But in a nutshell, when we asked the Narratives Hub to put together in that template, what do they think is important? This is a simple summary. Stories make people, they make communities, we're storytelling animals. To change the world, it means we need to find, rediscover, or create new stories. One of the dominant and damaging stories is the singular focus of the economy on GDP growth. Wellbeing economy ideas offer a broader, inclusive story. So the Narratives Hub will do a whole range of things, but it will put in, including strengthen and amplify stories in a current Australian society about a wellbeing economy. And the launch of the NENA Narratives Festival was an invitation for everybody, whether they are artists, singers, performers, writers, and everybody in between, folks who just want to help make some social memes for social media, all those kinds of things. It's a really important part of what we're doing. I'm not going to read through all of these because we just don't have time, but we had a wonderful webinar, and all of the webinars where we were discussing the strategy last year, I think most of them, some early this year, are on our website. Mary Graham, the remarkable Indigenous elder who we look to for a lot of the relationist ethos framing, and Ross Williams were talking about all the kinds of issues that are really important for First Nations and Indigenous peoples to bring into NENA, but also that NENA and NENA members can support in solidarity to decolonise and support First Peoples. Food systems, we had people like Nick Rose from Sustain, Joel Orchard, Morag Gamble, people contributing into these core elements of what food systems should look like and what are the core basic building blocks of those systems and how do they connect with other parts of the economy. Ecological economics, I've already touched on it. Ecological economics, the hub, particularly want to respect Hayden Washington's work, really stressing issues that a lot of people don't want to talk about because it makes them uncomfortable: ecological limits, consumption and production, population growth, the commodification of nature. So there's some really interesting issues in that hub's output. UBI and universal basic income. We had a really excellent presentation or a debate by a couple of young women earlier in the week about UBI and job guarantee. The UBI hub in NENA wants to see some of these issues around UBI really grown through the NENA space. And I think the debate on earlier in the week shows the potential for citizens' assemblies and public debates on some of these issues, just raising the profile getting people to talk about it and working out what's possible. The Arts and Culture Hub, huge shout out to Catherine, who's on this call, helping to really strive forward with the arts and culture. And I think she'll be cranky if I don't plug the webinar, which is on the 17th of November. Please join us. Just a huge potential to not just see the arts as part of the economy, but to see arts and creativity as one of the core elements of being a human being and helping to make change in our society by being creative and connecting with what we all have deep inside of us, which is that capacity for creative thinking and cultural understanding. Human settlements started as cities and urban, and then we had other rural and regional, and a couple of us, including Eleanor Pereira, we decided that we would bring it all together under human settlements, and the NENA hubs that are connected into it and part of it. It's a really exciting and important space. People like Louise Crabtree-Hayes bringing remarkable knowledge around community land trusts, Elena and the collaborative housing groups, looking at all the different ways that we can ensure human beings have wonderful places to live, or at least safe and affordable places to live, whilst trying to develop better ways of doing that without trashing the environment. We had our first NENA Housing Week this year. It was brilliant. We had more than 35 organisations represented across the week, all coming together, talking about all the issues. Just fantastic. Sorry, I've touched on housing, but yes, we started separate. Now we're looking at it all. It's all interconnected. We know that. There's also a Human Health Hub. It began fairly strong and it's kind of ebbed as many of our hubs come and go with people's energy. But the idea of promoting the bottom point there, the hub aims to explore specific actions that NENA members can take to promote a positive framing of good health, to move away from simply measuring the GDP of systems that are tending to our sick and unhealthy folks, but also what can the economy do to support good health. We also have a law and legal services group. Shout out to Bronwyn Morgan and others in that group. Lots of things we can do and should do with all of the folks who've got the legal expertise to assist in challenging the barriers that are there. I love things like this. We need regulation in a wellbeing economy where civil society can challenge the power of big corporations across many sectors. So that's just a snippet of tons of terrific ideas. And then how do we bring all these ideas together? How do we handle a pluralistic way of thinking about so many different aspects? Well, that's our next challenge. And the big invitation to all of you is if you have any skill sets facilitating meetings, doing groovy graphics and designs and drawings of discussions, being part of any of it would be, you're very, very welcome and invited to join us. What I did want to mention is that in addition to taking, I guess you could think of it as if you were doing academic research, we're looking across the empirical data, which is what all the hubs are saying is important and what they're doing, and then move it up to a level of theory. Some of the theoretical frameworks that are really starting to sharpen, and we can really see how these are becoming important to NENA's work. For anyone who's heard Mary Graham's talks this week and beyond, an Indigenous elder, or probably I think one of Australia's national treasures in terms of being someone who talks about Aboriginal philosophy and law in a remarkable way, so folks can really understand the difference in the relationist ethos and other ways of being. But the idea of relational economics in Australia, I think, is going to start getting traction. Obviously, the wellbeing economy and wellbeing budgets is now, it's like we've kind of opened the doors and that's coming into the NENA space, but also donut economics and particularly the 12 human parameters inside the 9 planetary boundaries. And with localization being one of our 5 core principles, and the work that my other organisation, AILA, has been doing on the Green Prince approach, which brings all of the frameworks, all of the stuff of NENA together into a place-based and bioregional focus. These are, I think, the frameworks that we'll be trying to look across next year and see how they're in dialogue with the core elements of what our hubs and members want to do. So just to wrap up in the next 2 minutes, the processes of bringing more folks into these discussions and both holding that tension between a really diverse space for lots of different ideas to flourish, but also to be moving towards having a clear and crisper idea of what it is we want to do together inside the network. That will be all about the processes that we start to develop. And just a little bit more about that. We have so many amazing members, organisational and individual, inside NENA. We'll be inviting lots of different folks with lots of different skill sets to come and work with us over 2022 and into 23 to help us build citizens' assemblies, to have debates, to have discussions, to really enable people to bring their ideas in and to start to kind of look across everything from the Australian National Development Index to donor economics to all those others, to actually settle into a space where we can see not only what we're trying to work towards, but are we making any progress? So the hubs, we're also, the hub input that we've got so far, so that 33 pages of notes, thank you again to our SDG folks for starting to summarize that. We're also really keen to get some cartoons and graphics, and perhaps a poster for each of the summary materials, but we'll see what we can do with what we've got. So what can you do? Well, you can do any of the following. Any member of NENA is welcome to join the Strategic Directions Group to help us steer our strategic work. As I mentioned in the before and showed with the diagram, all hubs, anyone who becomes a member is invited to become part of a hub. And then the hubs themselves can nominate someone to jump onto the SDG, but individual members can also jump in and join. It normally means 6 meetings a year, but also for anyone who's keen, a lot of work in between if you want to do it. The other thing is, if you don't want to jump into the SDG itself, please, as a NENA member or somebody interested, join the workshops and webinars that we're going to put together for next year, because that's where we're going to bring our voices together. The other thing is, if you're not keen on jumping up onto e-meetings all the time, once we have some stuff to share, we always value people reading it and giving us feedback. So that's about it from me. We originally were going to have a lot more interaction in this session, but we realized there'd been so much that we hadn't updated anyone about for a while. We just wanted to share all this in first instance. The best email, if you've got ideas, questions, queries, is nena@neweconomy.org.au. And before I take a breath and have a drink of water, what I wanted to do was just see if Rhiannon or anybody else who's on the call who's been part of the discussions for the strategy had anything else they wanted to add. And I'm sorry, I've been sharing screens, so I have no idea who's on this call. I'll call on you or annoy you. Monique, I see you, Monique. Who else is there? Did you guys or girls have anything else you wanted to add? Or have I talked you all into a trance?
How to join, maybe.
Jump on the website, darling. There's a membership page there. It's very, very simple and easy, but please do join with us. Yes. And even if you don't feel like joining straight away, jump on our mailing list for sure. Rhiannon's writing, nothing to add from me, but please get everyone involved in co-creating the strategy. Absolutely. The more folks who want to actively connect and have a yarn. It's an odd process. I often liken it to, you know, picking up an octopus and taking a step forward. You've got to pick up lots and lots of tentacles, and sometimes you drop them. It takes a long time to organize and then make a step forward. It's good stuff. Are there any questions, comments? Give you a minute or two to digest. Great playlist. I'll say thank you. And thanks, Scotty. Scotty's put a few of Mary Graham's talks. Oh, that playlist, right? Okay, now it all makes sense. Catherine says it's refreshing to see arts and culture as core business rather than adding on decoration. Absolutely. And if you look through the chat there, and I'll share it again, Catherine is kind enough to have shared. Actually, you might have to do it. It's all whizzing past now, the link. Okay, we've got a few people saying that you'd love to connect and have a yarn. Beautiful, beautiful. Please do, please do. Okay, so, and we've got nice comments. Excited to participate in the coming year. Yeah, I think next year's going to be a ripper, quite personally. I think we've got a lot of terrific people lined up coming into play together. So if there's no immediate responses to that, like I said, it's just a short overview. We really invite you to stay connected. NENA will probably go to sleep a little bit in December, January, but the 1st of February, we'll all be up raring to go, and we'll probably have an outline of workshops and events to share by the end of November or December. So, but yeah, because we're all volleys, everyone will probably take a bit of a rest over the summer, and yeah, got so many good things planned for next year. All right, well, look, without further ado, I'm really delighted to now introduce Eleanor GLENN, who is going to run us through, I think, some of her own thinking about how people can get involved and how we can connect. So I'm going to take the spotlight off me and try to find Eleanor. But thank you so much for your attention and for being here at the end of a Sunday on day 3 of the conference. Seriously, you all deserve a big pat on the back or a semi-exhausted hug from me and the other organisers. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And over to you, Eleanor.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for sticking around, folks. I'm not going to really do much of my thoughts. Originally, I was thinking, you know, could we do some brainstorming about our actions that operate kind of across our sectors, our issues. But I think what we'll do, given that it is, I can just sort of feel the energy late Sunday, let's just pick up something that has really sparked your interest from the conference. So I'll lead us into that, and I wanted to sort of have a few different things to focus on. One is just to spend 3 minutes reflecting. I know it's late, but just to reflect on what has been an amazing 3 days, so much packed in, but just to take a few moments to think, oh, what are the things that really spoke to me or resonated with me? So we'll do that in a moment. And then I want you to think about, what do I really want to see in this world, in my world, sort of that medium to longer term. So somewhere past next week or this week, because we're going to come to the this week question, or the today or the tomorrow if you're exhausted. So we're going to go to, yeah, what's the sort of medium to longer term thing that I want to create? And then we'll go to, what am I going to do tomorrow or this week? Just one little step towards that, because I think that's really useful at the end of a conference. Just that first little step. I'm going to talk to X person, or I'm going to check that website because that sounded really exciting. And finally, wrap up with the connection back to NENA. So how does NENA facilitate that? NENA being amplifying what, you know, all these amazing things that people are doing already, and all the hubs and those different ways of being involved that Michelle just outlined. So let's jump into it. We might just wrap up a bit early. We'll see how we go for time. For now, let's just go into 3 minutes. Over to you, just to reflect on the last 3 days. It's a bit of an ask in 3 minutes, 3 days, but yeah, just see what pops into your mind. What spoke to you? What excites you? You could just sort of think about it, just see what comes to you. Or as I just did 5 minutes ago, you might, if you have some notes, when I get really excited, I star something. So you might want to look back at your stars, whatever works for you. So let's see how we go. I've got my timer here, otherwise I might lose time. But let's start with that for 3 minutes. So just keep that to yourself, and then the next thing when we go into what do I want to do, that sort of medium long term, we'll pop it in the chat. But let's do our 3 minutes to ourselves reflection, starting now. Okay, that's our 3 minutes. Obviously, you can spend more time after this reflecting and looking back at your notes. But let's go straight into what the sort of medium to longer term, what do I want to see in the world and what do I want to be part of? What do I want to do? The sort of medium to longer term. Something that was sparked by the conference. Obviously, we've all got our own sort of existing projects and passions, but what has really excited you, helped you see something in a new light, shown you something that you never even knew was happening in your backyard, that kind of thing. So, you know, just as I was looking through my stars, so if I think that reorienting my state's budget for the well-being of people and planet is important, and wellbeing budget is a step towards that, then I want to check out what ACT and Vic and other governments are working on right now and how my work might contribute to that. If you're really passionate about homes for everyone, you may have heard about people working on that, a housing strategy, community land trusts, other ways of doing that, and things that I never even knew existed. Or you may have been to the offer and needs market run by Liz, and you may have discovered, oh, actually, I haven't really thought of it in this way, but I have this to offer, and others have these needs. Or it could be even completely left field. Like I've had an idea for something that is completely new that I think meets an unmet need, and I want to test out that idea with others. So it could be a whole lot of different things that have been sparked by the conference. So maybe just choose one. So again, have a little think to yourself, choose one. We're going to do what's variously known as waterfall, or sometimes known as popcorn. What you do is you pop your response in the chat, but you don't hit enter. So just type away in the chat, and then after a minute or two, we will all hit enter, and then you can see everyone's responses there together. Does that make sense to everyone? So yeah, have a think of, out of many things that you could choose or could do, what's that one of those medium to longer term things that you think is really important and you want to be part of? So whenever you're ready, pop it in the chat. Don't hit enter yet, and I'll tell you when in a minute or so. Just going to try and make the chat bigger for folks here. As you think about that, a couple of little provocations. What can you do that creates beauty? What can you do that creates humour, good humour? Just throwing that in. Or something that's just a bit left field or a bit random, just to get you thinking a bit outside the box. So type away in the chat, maybe another, say, 15 seconds, and then we'll do the waterfall or the popcorn, whichever metaphor works for you. All right, the time has come for the waterfall. I'm going to use that one. So when you're ready, 3, 2, 1, go, hit enter. All right, so does anyone want to just unmute yourself and say what you came up with? Let's hear a few of these because they look awesome. Go for it.
Oh, well, it's Catherine. I've been working with several local groups on developing ecological artworks and food growing and so on. And I'm just aware that and value I will work in the future with the citizen assemblies or establishing citizen assemblies, because the local groups need to connect more widely so we can work for wellbeing from the ground up.
Right. All right. Someone else?
No one else going? Yeah, no, I thought the song that Morag Gamble shared about the permaculture thing in Africa, that was pretty cool. That stuck with me. See if I can find it.
Someone else from this awesome list here, share with us your thing that you want to get involved with.
I can go if no one's going. I actually wrote about education, and I'm really interested in education. I already run a few different things, but they're pretty limited in terms of the classic sustainability stuff for students around waste and things like that. So I'd really like to expand that and think bigger and broader in terms of our economic system. And I also learned about eco-villages and have since made an inquiry to the one close to me up north of Newcastle, which is very exciting.
Very exciting. All right, jump in, folks.
Hi, I'd like to help focus on creating NENA's directories for people to have access, so at a glance you can just be able to see all of these and people can come and put their own thing forward. So I think that'd be really useful in the future.
Sorry, we didn't catch that really. Do you want to pop it in the chat?
I think what Jai was saying, it's Michelle here, was that he wants to help NENA get the directory more beefed up. Well, that's not an appropriate word, isn't it? With more people.
Amped up. Amplify.
Yeah,
Amped up.
Amplify, that's right. So the directory you can access it on the homepage of the website. It's absolutely brilliant. We have almost 400 paid members, but we've only got like 30 or 40 people have put themselves on the directory. So yeah, that's what Jai's saying. I want to help get more people on there. That's great, matey. Book. And if you're listening to this, everyone, put yourself in the directory if you're a member. It's only for members just because it's about solidarity. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Okay, let's move us forward so we can hopefully finish a bit early. The next part is to think, okay, what am I going to do in this week? So tomorrow, next few days, what can I do this week? It's a very simple question, but just to get you thinking, down in the weeds, if I've got this big thing I want to work towards, what am I going to do? I'm going to talk to this person, or I'm going to look up this website, or I'm going to hash out a bit of a plan, or whatever it is. So we'll do the same waterfall thing. So just think, what do you want to do this week? And for time, I'm going to roll that into the next one. So how does NENA fit into this to amplify what's going on, or for you to join what's already there in the hubs and so on?
Sorry.
So just, type it in there and we'll do the waterfall in a minute. All right, folks, it's time for that waterfall. 3, 2, 1, go. Fantastic. All right, let's hear from some of you, the things you've shared here. Yeah.
Well, if no one's going, I'll pipe up again. I certainly want to line up a bunch of interviews for our weekly radio show with a bunch of the speakers here, and the most of those go on. A lot of those go on the podcast, which we've got. I can link to again, and of course we do. Our NENA now has a podcast, the NENA podcast, which is Anna. Anna can talk about that if you want, Anna.
Sure. Hi. Yeah, I've just started interviewing some people from NENA. I've interviewed 4 people so far, and it's been really, really great hearing some board members' views and experiences in NENA so far. So it's basically, I'm planning to interview someone once every month or every 3 weeks, get their insights on what they're doing in NENA, what their challenges have been, what their highlights have been, opportunities, things that have come up, and also a little bit about their background and personal past, so we get a bigger picture. I've been a bit slow to upload them for a number of reasons, but I'm hoping to get all 4 uploaded pretty soon. And yeah, and I'll likely be reaching out to, you know, slowly but surely, everybody in NENA.
Awesome, thank you. Jay, do you want to share, because you haven't been on the chat? Okay, thanks, Scotty, for sharing the NENA podcast link. All right, well, that's a beautiful list. Hopefully we can share that somehow. But yeah, if nothing else, you've got your own, that's your list. That's your thing that you're about to do this week. And Michelle's just shared something. I'm going to wrap up and throw back to Michelle. So thank you all for sticking it out. Thank you for doing the quick reflection. I think it's so valuable at the end of such a huge and amazing conference to just think about, oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that thing from Friday that really excited me, and I want to make sure that that's something I do. So thank you all. Signing out.
Oh, thanks so much, Eleanor. That's wonderful to have that done. We're going to collect all the comments in the chat. That's just lovely. Thank you. Can I invite Marcus to come up to the mic, and we might wrap up together? And if any of our volunteers can still walk after 3 days on their feet, that would be terrific. There's Kira. Hello. Oh, I don't know if that's working.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
We Marcus is AWOL at the moment, so
that's a shame because we're about to wrap up.
I can help if you want, Michelle.
No, it's not so much about help, about saying thank you. But yes, so look, I will I'll just put myself on spotlight, and if any of the other volunteers are around, I just wanted to acknowledge you. I would like to thank all of you, you hardcore awesome people, staying with us until the Sunday afternoon. Thank you for sharing all your ideas also in that session with Eleanor. On behalf of the New Economy Network Australia, I would like to thank Marcus Foth and QUT for being the physical venue and my co-host across these sessions. Kira May, who you can see in the QUT Wombat Borough, thank you for your 3 days of hard labour. Also to Nick and Hira, wherever you are, somewhere in the room, thank you so much. And a super duper humongous thank you to Rhiannon HARDWICK. Wave to everyone, Rhiannon. Rhiannon's been helping me for weeks and weeks, if not months and months, in the lead up to the conference. Really grateful to her too. So I'm just trying to think if there's anyone else I should thank. Obviously, all of you lovely people for participating, for being speakers and for sharing. This really does feel like although it's been online, a lot of it feels like a really exciting movement forward. Hearing the different speakers, we've had a much broader connection into new networks than we've ever had before. So I'm personally really excited about where we've been and where we're going. And here comes Marcus. Come on, Marcus, come and say some farewell notes. And thank you for the lovely comments you guys are sending through to all of us. We really appreciate it. Of course, sorry, thank you. Awesome directors on the board of management. Oh, the wonderful patient folks. Bronwyn Morgan, Andrew Ward, Monique Potts, Simon Kerr. I'm getting very tired.
Andrew Bucknell.
Andrew Buckwell, who's just joined us. That's right. Thanks to everyone on the board of directors, the Strategic Directions Group, our emerging participatory budget group. I'm really grateful to all of you. I was just saying, Marcus, how delighted I am. This has been an amazing, even though it's been hybrid and a bit lumpy in places, the quality of the speakers and the wonderful input from participants has been terrific. And thank you so much. Oh, and thank you, volunteer extraordinaire. Thank you.
I'll add my thanks. I think there's already been a lot of gratitude, which I just second, especially for my partners in crime here. Kira is still here in front of me. You just saw her, and also Hira. Thank you so much. Nick has already left, a victim of exhaustion. But
Yes.
yeah, without those three, it would have been impossible.